if you'll just read along together. I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a member of the Board of Education for the Wayne Central School District to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Now, if you'll just sign the oath for me. And now at this time, we're going to elect the Board of Education President. I'll entertain nominations for President for a one-year term, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second? Pam? Jim, do you accept the nomination? Are there any other nominations for president? Are there any other nominations for president? Okay, the nominations are now closed. All in favor of Tim Reynolds for president, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Abstain. All right, through a vote of 8-0 to 1 abstention, Tim Reynolds will become president of the Board of Education. At this time, I will administer the oath of office for the president of the Board of Education to Tim Reynolds.
I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the President of the Board of Education for the Wayne Central School District to the best of my ability.
Thank you. I'll now entertain nominations for Vice President for a one-year term beginning July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second? Carla? Pam, do you accept the nomination? Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Are there any other nominations for Vice President? The nominations are now closed. All in favor of Pam Pendleton for Vice President, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And abstain. Through a vote of 8-0 to 1 abstention, Pam Pendleton will become the Vice President of the Board of Education.
I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President of the Board of Education for the Wayne Central School District to the best of my ability.
And at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our new president.
All right, this time we'll get going with our appointments. I need a motion for the appointment of district officers for 2017-18. Carrie, second. Jeremy? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, I need, right. Now we need to administer the oath of office to the new district clerk.
I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of district clerk for the Wayne Central School District to the best of my ability.
All right, this time I need a motion for appointment of district officials for 2017-2018. Carrie, second. Jeremy, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. At this time, I need a motion for designations for the 2017-2018. Phil, second. Ron, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. This time I need a motion for the authorizations for the chief school officer for 2017-18. Pam, second. Ron, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I need a motion for the bonding of personnel for 2017-2018. Matt, second. Carla, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I need a motion for additional designations and authorizations for 2017-2018. Steve, second. Carrie, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I need a motion to establish substitute and building use rates for 2017-2018. Carrie, second. Pam, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Need a motion to approve the appointment of district-wide safety team for 2017-2018. Carrie, second. Pam, any discussion? Okay.
The teacher representative, is that just because nobody volunteered, or we're waiting till the school year started?
Waiting for the school year to start.
Okay.
Yep, and that's generally when we get our volunteer. Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, I need a motion to adopt continuing resolution 2017-2018. Matt, second. Phil, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, I need a motion for additional board member appointments for 2017-2018. Carla, second. Jeremy, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I need a motion for the appointment to 2017-18 advisory board committees. Matt, second. Steve, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. No. And at this point, we'd like to do the oath of office to Beth Jacobson, who was on our audit committee as a community representative.
Faithfully discharge the duties of the audit committee member for the Wayne Central School District to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Beth. All right, I need a motion to approve the liaison to the PTO and parent groups. Carla, second. Ron, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, this time we'll commence with our regular meeting. I need approval. We'll begin our meeting by approving the agenda. Need a motion to approve the agenda? Steve? Second, Pam. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll entertain public comment. This meeting is held in public according to the Open Meetings Law. It's not a public participation meeting. As a board, we value input from the public. Before starting public comment, I've had conversations with people who have found loud comments and side conversations in the audience very disruptive during previous meetings. Please refrain from these behaviors. Thank you. All right, at this time we'll entertain public comment. Please direct your comments to the Board of Education. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. At the 3-minute mark, we'll politely thank you for your comments. Please come to the table or microphone and state your name and address for the board's clerk record. Are there any community members who would like to speak at this time?
County Line Road, Ontario, New York. My son, Luke, took his own life this past fall. While writing out thank you cards, I looked up the meaning of what our school colors mean, blue and gold. Blue means trust, loyalty, wisdom, truth, and faith. Gold means love, compassion, courage, and passion. The world as a whole is a lot different than it used to be. Kids and adults alike are having a hard time coping, coexisting, and communicating. Stress and depression are at an all-time high. I believe technology is a key component to this. It was made to make our lives better and easier instead of hurting us. Bullying is everywhere. Some sort of bullying is in every home, every school, and every job. Everybody judges everyone because we are human. In our district, like many, we, the parents, the board, the administration, teachers are trying to teach our children exactly what bullying does to our children and to people. Our district has been teaching our children that bullying through social media is there forever, that you never know what someone else is going through. I was glad to hear from kids in Luke's class that Hearts from Heroes came and spoke to the students about bullying and suicide. That the saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me, is incorrect. That it should say, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names and words can kill me. That saying it just moves mountains. Mr. Matigues, you hold an important position on our Board of Education. Your action and words can be displayed, that words that were displayed on social media have a lasting impression on our community as a whole. The most significantly, our children. How can we lead by example when the vice president of the board or any position that you hold on the Board of Education cannot do this? Thank you.
Susan Ashline, 6902 Lakeside Road. On May 25th, when a mother in the district, the one that you just heard, tearfully spoke to you of her 11-year-old son's suicide last fall, her words were met with silence, except for President Tim Reynolds issuing his curt and standard thank you. Any other comments? Fran Burns' message was primarily for Vice President Phil McTighe, who'd recently made headlines for his bigoted Facebook post railing on overweight women as sows and pigs. Mrs. Burns talked of a link between McTighe's post and bullying and suicide. After I posted a story about the suicide Mrs. Burns received, rather than acknowledging after I posted a story about the silence Mrs. Burns received, rather than acknowledge their actions were wrong, board members and school officials defended their silence by claiming it's board policy that they not respond to or refer to public comments in any way. There is no rule or bylaw that prevents this. In fact, responding to public comment is exactly what happened. At the May 4th meeting, numerous citizens spoke that night. Stacy Pickering was one of them. She spoke in praise of board members. That night, board member Carla Borman referred to Stacy Pickering's comments more than once. Quote, I too, like Ms. Pickering said, quote, as Ms. Pickering also said, I am told Stacy Pickering is board member Jeremy Eaton's sister. Now that we have a new school board makeup, I'm asking the board to review its policy in regard to responding to public comment. We cannot have a policy that states board members only respond to public comments that are in praise of the board or made by family of other board members. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I rushed in here, didn't realize this was happening so quickly, but I did want to ask Phil McTighe to step down on his own. You did not show up to the high school graduation. I can only guess that you knew that you would be booed. When we get to the point where we go to some public community event and we're booed, that should be a cue to you that the public and the community does not want you here. I'm asking you, if you want to do something heroic instead of citing your military background, those people are heroes. I come from a military family. I wish you would keep your military background quiet because it's embarrassing. If you want to do something heroic, step down for this community.
My name is Matthew Russ McGuire at 4836 Lincoln Road. I'm presenting a petition on behalf of the residents of Wayne Central School District. As residents of Wayne Central School District, we respectfully request that Mr. Philip McTighe be removed from his position as Vice President of the Board of Education. We further request that he be removed from any and all current or future roles on the Board of Education immediately. Recent comments on Mr. McTighe's Facebook page make it clear that his beliefs and values do not coincide with that of our Wayne community. Mr. McTighe described another person as a, quote, disgusting fat pig who should not be enjoying a piece of cake in public. He also referred to an individual as a, quote, sow and used derogatory language to further describe the individual. The Wayne mission statement states that we educate and inspire all students to be empowered learners and positive contributors to their community. The Board of Education must be held to these same standards. There is no room for individuals who, quote, hate people and are comfortable demoralizing others based on their appearance in our community. Should I present this position to the clerk?
Make public comment. All right, at this time, is there any board members that would like to make any comments? Ron?
At the last board meeting, there were several comments made about renewing the superintendent's contract. I would like to correct one of the comments that was made. There was a comment made that the superintendent's contract was for $215,000. That's a $40,000 error. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Pam?
And rather to piggyback on what Ron said, if anyone needs to find information, anything that we vote on or are discussing, all those facts, figures are in our board minutes for that week, so you can always check there. Certainly welcome to do your own investigation, but if you find things that don't mesh or they don't, they conflict with each other, I'm sure Mathis wouldn't mind a call to the district office to clear up the misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Anybody else? Carrie? Try your best.
I'm going to try. I apologize in advance. I have no voice. I just wanted to remind the families that of the children who are in the K through 5 that the summer playground playdates are going on for the pen pals. And if you get any pictures done while you're at the playdates, to please just email them to Amy Gebhardt. And one of the other parts of the transition pen pal program that we're looking to do is to kind of do an end of the summer kind of event during the school supply event on August 9th, where the kids can come pick up their school supplies. There's going to be a photo booth table, and the transition team is also going to be handing out popsicles or freeze pops as well during the event. So it'll be a good time maybe to meet up with your pen pals, get some school supplies, take some fun pictures with each other, and enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Carrie. Anyone else? Okay, this time we'll move on to superintendent's report. Dr. Calvin, will you please report to the board?
Good evening, Board. I'm going to be just very brief. Greg and I, we're just going to kind of give you an update from where we were a couple of weeks ago. Just to tell a little bit about our transition in terms of what we're doing right now. We've been working on packing everything. We have pretty much everything packed like we need it to be now. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll be moving all of the furniture. In fact, I think the truck starts on Monday with all the actual physically moving things from one building to another. We are looking at least a week or maybe two to get all the moving done. So we just wanted you to know that we're moving forward with all the moves. In Wayne Elementary and all of our other schools, we are also involved now in painting. So walls are just, we have paint going up and here and there, and cafeterias being painted and some other areas around the schools. Every year we do painting where painting needs to be done. And this year we're certainly making sure we're right at it so that we have a very smooth opening for our students. Just a reminder, on July 11th, we talked at our recent meeting about having a very fast special meeting to accept bids for the parking lot expansion and the new entrance. I believe the bids are in tomorrow, if I remember correctly, Greg?
Correct. That is correct.
And anything else you want to share about that at all?
No, just that the other information that we have is the week of July 17th, the county should be starting the work on the new entranceway. Their curbing contractor is scheduled for the 24th of July, so they told us they'd be starting about a week in advance. So very shortly we should start seeing some action over there. And as the superintendent said, actually we'll be reviewing the RFPs for the finishing the entranceway and expanding the parking lot. Those will be open tomorrow with a recommendation to the board on July 11th.
Okay. And then also target date to have most of our work all completed. We're going to try to really have everything all set as much as we can by, we're looking for August 15th date. That gives us 2 weeks before school starts, so if there's anything that needs to be done last minute or fixed up, we'll have time to do that. So our goal hopefully is August the 15th. The majority of everything we need to have done, our goal is to have it done by then. So we'll be in touch to let you know as we continue to move forward on each of the projects that are being done. And just want to, again, let you know that we'll continue to keep you abreast of all the progress. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please certainly let us know. But we'll certainly make sure we keep you and our public in the loop. Very shortly, within the next couple of weeks, I'll be also sending out another newsletter to the public to share with them some of the progress that's been made to keep the entire community involved in what's happening and in the loop as to what's occurring. So I just wanted to share that with you. Any questions about any of those items at all that I talked about tonight from anybody?
I know it's not on there, but how is the scheduling going?
Very well. So our principals are now putting those schedules together, putting in student schedules. This is very typical work that we do every year. So far, very smoothly. We had one blip where we had some things lost, but they've since found those or gotten those things done. But very smoothly, we're not having any difficulty at this time.
The consultant is here to help?
Consultant?
Or you were getting someone in to help with?
No, what we were going to do is if we needed to bring someone in, we would. But we were able to work with our teachers, work with our principals, solidify those structures that we presented to all of you all a couple of weeks ago. And now we're just actually putting all the final pieces in. So we believe we should be all set and ready to go. And just since you brought up schedules, just a reminder, board, one of the things that we have talked to our staff about is that we're going to go ahead and go with the schedules that we have for next year. And then if there are questions or concerns, we will be back in October to talk with our staff. We'll be monitoring how things are going. And if we are ready and need to, we will certainly go back out. We'll look at other ideas. We'll spend time over the next year to think about what other people are doing. And we might find that our schedules work great. We might find we need to tweak them. We might find that we need to do some things a little different. So we will take our time and work with the staff very closely to make sure that things are set. But we do believe that we are going to be very much so in good shape. Schedules, as I said, are being loaded now into school tools, and soon we'll have those things available for our teachers as well as for our staff so that they'll know what they're going to be doing as the school year begins, and for students as well. Typically around August is when those schedules are solidified and sent out. That's generally the time we do it, so we'll be doing that. Okay, all right. Any other questions at all tonight? Everybody good? Okay, all right. So we're going to switch programs now, or switch our presentation now. Thank you, Greg. Tonight, I have two additional groups of folks that are going to be with us. First, we're going to bring up Ms. Janice Jackman. I know she's here, and I want to thank her for coming tonight. Ms. Jackman is one of our foreign language teachers, and she's going to talk to the board a little bit tonight about a trip that we're proposing for the next school year, which is our trip to France in 2018. And after Mrs. Jackman presents for a little bit here, we'll be back and we're going to talk a little bit about the math program for grades 6 through 8. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jackman. Yes, you can stay there. I'll just put this over there next to you, okay?
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Jackman, and I'm a French and Spanish teacher here, and I've been with the district for 11 years. I'm excited tonight to be presenting a new program for the French students, for French 3 and those who have already taken the course. And what we're looking to for this trip is to visit the city of Rennes, which is in the northwestern part of France. We will be in conjunction with a high school there, Lycée Bréquigny, and this eventually will become a true exchange program by 2020. We will look to host students in the fall of 2019, and then we will go again in 2020. This involves a homestay, and we will be there for approximately 10 days. This is something I've been looking to include since I took over the French program 5.5 years ago. There are scheduled visits throughout the day during our time there. For example, as you can see up here, we'll be visiting the Normandy D-Day beaches, Omaha Beach, the American Cemetery, an 8th century abbey on Mont Saint-Michel. We'll be visiting the site of Karnak, which is a site of Neolithic, actually 10,000 of them, standing stones, very historic, dating back to 4,500 to 2000 BC. We'll be visiting a medieval city, Saint-Malo, that was actually heavily damaged during the Second World War, and I'm told that the renovations are quite impressive. And we also have planned a day trip to the castles of the Loire Valley. Rennes and Rochester, they are the oldest sister city program that Rochester has. It dates back to the 1950s. There are many schools in the area that are participating in this exchange program with Rennes, France. Some of them are Pittsford-Mendon, Pittsford-Sutherland, Brighton, Aquinas, Newark, Gananda, Honeoye, and Wayne is looking to be the next school. This is the first time that I will be participating in this program. Therefore, I have chosen to pair up with Honeoye and Gananda, so it will be a 3-school trip. I'm looking to experience this myself for the first time and to follow the lead of the head teacher at Honeoye, and this will be her 8th trip, and it is Gananda's 2nd. Obviously, we're all aware of these times and what's been happening lately, in particular in Europe, so I want to let you know that certain precautions are being taken to ensure student safety. Traditionally, this trip has involved the homestay portion, where the students stay throughout the 10 days. I should say probably 7 days, and then it has been followed by a long weekend in Paris, a 3-day weekend. At this time, given recent occurrences in Paris, it has been the decision of the 3 of us to remove Paris from the agenda. There is also included in the program fee a very comprehensive, in my opinion, a very comprehensive insurance plan. It is mandatory for all those students who wish to sign up for the trip, and this fee is non-refundable. It is $57. It gives, up until the day of travel, a 100% reimbursement for certain conditions, such as a medical problem, a loss of a job for a parent, a home disaster. But in particular, it allows for a 100% reimbursement for any terrorist activity dating 30 days prior to the trip. However, that activity must occur either within the city that we're staying or a city through which we're traveling. If it comes down to another situation, such as simply a student changes his mind 3 months before the trip, it is a 75% reimbursement. Having traveled now several times with the district, I came before you, I think, 6 years ago and presented the Costa Rica program, which is a huge success. By comparison, Promatur does not offer such a comprehensive insurance package, so I think this is outstanding for our students, and it's a very high money-back guarantee at either 100% or 75%. We have chosen to fly out of Toronto to avoid New York City or New Jersey airports. So we will be taking a bus from this region to Toronto and back and flying out. We will be arriving in Paris. However, we will be boarding a private bus. We will not be using public transportation to get us from Paris to the northwestern city of Rennes. And that is the information I have. I'd like to know if you have any questions. I believe you all have the handout that details the itinerary. Some insurance information is on the back 2 pages, I believe.
The host families, how are they chosen? And like verified or gone
Well, this
through?
is a program that's been in existence for many years, and as I say, many high schools are going. The French students actually come to the area every year, but the schools here in the area go every other year. These are families that have been participating for years, and it's very similar to Costa Rica. Promatur explains to me that if there ever is a negative report, the family is removed from the list. So these are families who the English teachers there at the school know them well, they're members of the community, and this is an exchange program that's been in existence for many years.
Thank you.
Sure.
How many students do we have interested in looking to attend this year if the program
Well,
is a go?
it's a little hard to say because as I worked on this through the year, I was a little hesitant to reveal many details to the kids, not knowing how it would go. Towards the end of the year, I started to talk it up in a way that I said I would be presenting this. This would involve a homestay. We discussed that a little bit and what that meant. And so to answer your question, to those with whom I've spoken, there is interest. Out of the current French 3 class that just ended, that was a class of 12, I would say probably 8 are interested. But beyond that, being that it's a trip that's offered to current French 3 students or those who have already completed the course, because we don't offer a French 4. There are several students who have already taken French 3. They will be seniors, and they will be now juniors. And the current class, they are sophomores. The seniors, soon-to-be seniors, have come back and said they're interested. So my guess is, I'm saying to the other 2 schools, I'm looking at 10 to 15. That's what I'm thinking.
Is that, so you have a minimum, maximum that you're looking at taking?
Because we're with 2 other schools, there is really not a minimum. They're a bit ahead of me, so they have already had their kids submit the paperwork, and I've seen Gananda has had, I think, 3 students apply this summer, and Hanoi is up to 12. I think I could guarantee at least 5, but in the past, for example, with Costa Rica and even with the Paris trip I led 4 years ago, there was definitely a minimum number that was required to secure a certain price. That is still true. Numbers always matter for travel. But as you can see on your paperwork, the minimum and maximum at this point, and I just spoke with the travel agent today, it's from $1,300 to $1,450, dependent upon number, and also dependent upon number of chaperones whose programs need to be covered as well. So I would say at this point we're probably closer to the $1,450 is what I think. And then in addition, we have the $80 fee to get to Toronto and back, and the $100 Loire Valley that we have added on in place of Paris, and having lost some of that experience.
Is there a cost to the chaperones at all or not?
There is not, it's included in the cost of the trip.
Okay, thank you.
How many chaperones will you be taking?
Well, the policy is 7 for 7 paying students, 1 chaperone goes. So again, as I say, at this point, I don't know. I think at least 7 kids will go. I do think so. But whether it makes 15, I don't know. If that's the board policy, then yes.
Just for students who might be of interest in the past for some other trips, if it's a financial hardship for them, are there ways to raise funds, or how does that work if you have student interest and the funds are tight?
I've always offered that. Just for example, this past fall, a year ago for Costa Rica, I had 4 fundraising experiences. So yes, some experiences will be offered. However, by comparison to Costa Rica and Paris, this trip is very much on par with what the price was for Quebec, and yet we're going all the way to France. It's really the homestay that's offsetting the cost because we're not staying in hotels. And it says somewhere, I believe, that the meals are all provided by the families, the museum entrances are provided by the French school, and in turn, in 2019 fall, as a school district, we would look to be the same kind of gracious host and provide for those students when they come here.
I assume you're going. When the students are there, how much contact do you have? I mean, do you have daily contact with them, or?
The trips are every day.
Okay.
So yes, we see them every day. There is a long weekend. The weekend that we're there, they do have Easter Monday off. So for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the concept is they would be with their families. Me, being a first-timer on this, I haven't asked Penny if we would, I'm sorry, the lady from Honeoye, the teacher, I haven't asked if we have contact with them over that weekend. But I can only, again, liken it to the experience in Central America, and we're not always visiting the homes and on top of the kids. So
But if they needed to
sure, sure, and we'll be staying with those families as well, the teachers. So the assumption would be the kids would either have the phone number of the house where I am, or, yes, there would be
great,
a way
thank
to
you.
communicate, I'm sure. Yes.
I didn't hear where you're flying into in Europe.
Where we're flying into?
Yes.
Into Paris.
Into Paris.
But we're getting met by a private motor coach there to take just the 3 school districts' kids.
Thank you.
Could you review again the parameters on terrorism in which the insurance kicks in? I thought I heard you say 30 days. Any act?
Right. So for the 100% reimbursement, a terrorist activity would have to happen 30 days prior to departure. And it would have to happen in a city, well, the city that we're staying in, Rennes, or a city through which we're traveling, which would be Paris. If 10 days before we leave there's an episode in Belgium, that would not qualify. However, if someone is concerned with the episode in Belgium 10 days before, they may cancel. They will not get 100% back, but it would be 75% back.
Okay, how about an event in Paris 40 days before the trip?
40 days, no. They're quite strict on the 30-day policy.
What if it's a state of emergency in the country or something else? Because like I know before there's been terror attacks in Europe. Some of the countries basically go into lockdown at that point for 30 days, 20 days, 10 days. Would that be effective at all, or don't know?
Prior to, do you mean,
Like,
or if we were
prior
there?
to, say a week before you go, France or the entire city of country of France is shut down because of a terrorist attack in Brussels. It's happened before. They've basically closed the border to find out what's going on. Would that affect
I
it?
assume 10 days, I'm speaking for a company, I would have to ask
Right.
directly, but I'm assuming 10 days. Go ahead.
So, Board, so we've had a couple of trips. Recently, we had one to Germany. We just had one to Costa Rica, and we stay in very close conversation with those companies as we get closer. So we have a system that we monitor what's happening in terms of terrorist activities or events that are happening in other countries. Generally, the companies, when something like that goes on, they kind of really work with us because we have kids involved and families involved, and it's not something that they had planned for, neither did we. So we generally are able to work through those kinds of issues. We have not had that issue occur yet, knock on wood, but we are very much so in close conversation all the way up to the day of the trip, and when they go, and when they, on the way back, we're constantly watching and in contact with those kinds of officials. So whenever you go out of the country on special trips such as this, you know that there are always risk, no matter where you go to. So the companies are very used to that and work very closely with schools around refunds. So generally, while they have, you know, a statement of 30 days in advance notice, if something happens last minute, most of the companies generally work very closely with the school districts. They want to continue the business and continue the work that they're doing with kids, and so they generally are very receptive to that kind of work and work very closely with us. Now, we'll certainly make sure we go out again and have additional conversations with them before, just before, during, and after the trip to make sure that if anything goes wrong, that certainly we are keeping our close eye and watch on that. But again, this happens every year. We do these trips, and those are the risks that are involved, and we constantly make sure that we try to secure and make sure that if these trips are not cheap, they cost a lot of money. $1,400 is a lot for a family. So wherever possible where we can secure refunds, we work diligently to do that, and we will continue to have those conversations with folks. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Okay.
I do want to add that as a French and Spanish teacher here with the district, and this is now my 4th trip that I am proposing, the French kids are with me for 4 years by the time they get to level 3. And there's usually quite a passion for French that is exhibited on behalf of the students. There's something phenomenal about French and the love of the sound of the language and a love of the culture. In the hallways at school, you know, everybody knows everybody else's business, so to speak, meaning the kids know about the Costa Rica trip, and they are very aware that they get a homestay, that they're there for 2 weeks. And when I took over the program 5.5 years ago, I right away instituted or tried to a program to Paris. I wanted the kids to see Paris. That was the first time in 30 years in this district that the kids have gone to France. And that was a success, but it was a tourist trip. And it was visiting the Eiffel Tower and seeing the sights. 2 years ago, I came, I believe, and presented a trip to Quebec. And Quebec is also a very unique destination, but that was once again, overall, a largely tourist trip. It did not involve a homestay. While the kids are nervous, as this is for the French kids, their first opportunity to live with a family, they're very excited. And they're very excited to go to France proper. There is quite an attraction to the country, to the culture, and for kids who have spent 4 years and been diligent with the language, if they were here tonight, they would say to you, they're very excited for this, nervous excited, but very interested in putting their skills to work. And as a matter of fact, I got an email last night late from a level 3, a recent graduate, and she went with her family to meet some family friends who live up in Quebec. And she was quite excited to write back, and she stayed with the family, and she said the accent is quite difficult. We've talked about that numerous times in class, but she said she was so excited because the people told her she spoke French well, and she's one of the girls who is looking to go to France. So I would just ask you to consider that this is really a phenomenal opportunity at a great price, and the kids are hoping for good news, and they're just really excited to be with a homestay.
And if I could just add, Board, just to let you know in terms of the insurance. So I think Mrs. Jackman mentioned that actually the level that we're able to negotiate in terms of insuring the trip is much more than what we've been able to do for even our recent trip to Costa Rica.
Absolutely.
So we were able to get insurances, you know, as we've been looking and monitoring things, we've been wanting to make sure that we secure our kids. So this year we were able to get insurance when we did not have it in the past. And we'll, each year as we do these kinds of trips, continue to try to negotiate even more or better insurance deals. So this is the first in terms of the insurance deal that we were able to get. Is it everything we'd like it to have? No. But we do think it's a whole bunch better than what we've had in the past for any of the other trips because they didn't have that kind of insurance to them. So just want to make sure everybody knows that as well.
This is a local travel agency that's offering this.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I happened to be in the Chicago airport, I think 2 years ago, and met the group coming back from Germany, quite by accident, and had an opportunity to interact with those students and to see how excited they were and how enjoyable and educational the trip was. I told them I was there to welcome them back to the United States, but that really wasn't the case. But they were very excited about that trip.
Yes.
Just, when you institute this and then we start with students in the, I'm
the
very
fall.
familiar with the program because I work in a district that does this. What do you show them here when they come? I mean, I know it's far down the line, but they stay with families here too?
That would be the hope, that I would put
Get
that
enough
net out
families?
there, and I would get some students who would be willing to host. At this point, because I have actually opted out of that portion this fall due to the schedule change, and I have a very heavy teaching load, so I wanted to focus on the new schedule. But in 2019, I have been in touch with the teacher at Honeoye. She has sent me a calendar of sorts with the activities that go on. They're wide-ranging from, of course, a trip to Niagara Falls, the George Eastman House, a baseball game, some kind of dance party maybe at the school or movie night at the school for the kids to interact. High Falls, I think the bridge at High Falls is called the Rennes Bridge, named after this first sister city that Rochester signed up with in the 50s. I'm trying to think what else is on the list.
So it's all local events? Or local
With the exception
places?
of Niagara Falls, yes,
Okay.
it seems to be.
All right,
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, they try to connect them with so we're like the sister city, if I remember correctly.
Rochester
so
and
we
Rennes are
try
sister
to,
cities, yeah.
They try to bring them into the Rochester
Oh, it would be a
area.
visit with the mayor, of course, because
Right.
this is a group from the original Sister City program.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so board, we'll be back with more information about the trip. The documents that she's talking about the trip, unfortunately, I noticed that they're not there with you tonight, so we'll send those out to you in your weekly packet. You have, okay, so if you give them to the clerk, we'll send those around to you tonight, then that way you can see them, and we'll be back to talk about further approval of the trip. Okay? All right, we're going to shift, and we're going to have Dr. Syracuse come tonight for part 3 of our report tonight. He is joined by our middle school principal, Mr. Damas, and we have 2 teachers, Mrs. Peck, and this wonderful lady, Chris. All right, got it. We have this joke. I'm trying to make sure I remember everybody's name, and I don't want to miss her name at all. But they are here tonight to talk a little bit about math. So at the middle school next year, like at our other schools, we'd like to adopt a new text. This is a part of the work that Dr. Syracuse has been doing around curriculum and instruction. So we have been aligning our programs for ELA and for math. We've talked a little bit about science and social studies recently. And just, the math piece has been really important to us. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we have the resources in place that will truly help and assist our students wherever they are currently in math. And so after quite some time with the teachers and with the administration, we at the end of the year we're able to come to agreement on a math text that we'd like to adopt. And so I'll let Dr. Syracuse and the team share that information, and then we'll talk about next steps from there. Okay.
Sure. I just would like to say first, it was a great team to work with, administration, the 6-8 teachers, 2 of whom are here today, Mr. Schlageter, Mrs. Clemens, and Mr. Labarge were also a part of the team, and they really took to the task. They were focused in a year when there were 10,000 things going on, and I would ask them to take a half day to review some texts and have some conversation and talk about some criteria. They were always willing to do it, and it's not because they weren't busy. It's just because they're that dedicated and they know the work is that important. So I want to thank these guys for being here and that team for their efforts. Tonight we'll just talk to you briefly about a little bit about the process we went through, the selection criteria that we had. We'll just address briefly acceleration, because I know that's been a topic that's been on the board's mind. I'll share some costs with you for these texts, and we'll make our formal recommendation at that point. I don't know who's controlling what.
Let's see. That one. All right, so as Joe mentioned, the process that we kind of went through, when we found out that we were adding the 5th grade to the middle school, we have the program that starts in the elementary. So a natural place to begin was to look at that expressions program. And naturally, in many of our conversations with the 7th and 8th grade faculty, they had expressed some interest in exploring some different resources. So that that process and those conversations had been ongoing. But we really wanted to kind of come to some consensus about that. So, the process that we went through, we looked at a lot of different options, looked at surrounding schools, what they had done. Our teachers interact, whether it's at scoring or different conferences that they go on with teachers from around the area and ask those questions quite often of their counterparts in other districts. And one of the things that we really wanted to focus, we wanted our team to be excited about this resource. So we wanted them to be, key players in this process. So, one of the things we wanted to begin with is let's look at what options are there, which texts are available, and then from there we can kind of develop and identify some criteria that we could rank these against. So the 4 texts that we look at was Math in Focus, a Glencoe product, Math Expressions, and then Pearson. Math in Focus is it's the same publishing company that does Math Expressions, and in conversations with that sales rep, she said it's a bit more rigorous, so she kind of pointed us in that direction, which kind of had us explore that one a little bit more deeply. And then actually Mrs. Peck was really excited about the Pearson product and brought that to the table for us to examine all of these against that. And then once we kind of created this process and brought everybody to the table after having some time to look through these products, we developed the criteria that we examined each of these texts through, and those are, as you can see on the right. We wanted the scope and sequence to be aligned. We certainly wanted standard alignment with the text. Readability for the audience that would be using this, so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We wanted it to be a rigorous product. We want to prepare our students to do well for whatever opportunities they may pursue after their time with us. We really, as technology unfolds and as we continue to move forward with our one-to-one initiative that we will be going through next year, we wanted our text to kind of dovetail with that. So we wanted the materials to have electronic components. We want our students to have support when they go home. So some of those things were key for us, and then lastly, differentiation and intervention. So opportunities for students, if they're not understanding something, what options does the product offer if a student is home without the support of their teacher? Are there online components? Are there videos? Is there a virtual tutor? And then is there enrichment opportunities as well? So those were some of the things that we actually developed and then ranked. So that was actually it was a fun process to go through. It was very authentic, and I think it rendered us with a very good decision that we're all very excited about. So that was a little bit about what the process was.
Sure. So you can see we did select the Pearson Envision Math 2.0 for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. When we discussed rollout, I did give the team some options. Would you like to roll 6th grade out next year, and then as kids come up, we'll roll it up in 7th grade to 8th grade. The team wants full implementation in the fall, and I absolutely respect that decision. So that's what we're going to be proposing tonight. The acceleration piece, the one piece that really, one of the many pieces that really excited me was and Mr. Labarge, who kind of heads up our acceleration program in the middle school, is the fact that 7th grade has a 2-pronged program. First is for kids doing the standard approach, 7th grade math, and second, in 7th grade, Pearson offers an accelerated 7 program. So that would offer us good alignment from 6th graders doing Pearson to 6th graders who might benefit from acceleration in 7th grade. And it also offers a linear approach for kids just simply going from 6th grade to 7th grade. So it addresses the acceleration without forcing us to make that acceleration decision with and for kids at such a young age. When we accelerate students at 6th grade, some of the data that we're using can be as old as 4th grade because the 5th grade results don't come in when a lot of those decisions about 6th grade placements happen. So while I understand there's some concern about not accelerating at 6th grade, we did that for 2 years and we did that for curricular reasons. Now we have a better option, I think, and we can give kids a little bit longer to develop before we make those choices. And just to remind you that whether we accelerate it in 6th, as we did in the last couple of years, or wait till 7th, the kids are just as accelerated in 8th grade. They're not getting any further ahead. It's algebra in 8th grade for our accelerated kids. So now we're going to talk to you a little bit about the program. And
Hi. Okay. Okay, so like he was mentioning, we're really excited about it. There's a lot of research-based information. The Pearson, obviously, is an important company for us to work with because they're the ones that started us with our state testing, and they have a much better connection with where the kids are going to have to be when it is state testing time, versus the other companies we were looking at. And we really noticed that when we were comparing the types of questions that they presented in Pearson, again, when comparing to the released questions that the state had given us. Again, we had the modules, and that's what we've been working with, adjusting those as best we can. But again, it was really difficult for us because we were seeing the modules, and the modules were at a different level than was expected, like on the state tests. And so we were kind of constantly trying to figure out where to put the kids. So when we saw this program, we got really jazzed, and that's why we're like, we want it as soon as possible and not have to wait and be jealous of the sixth grade teachers who have it. And so where it starts with, again, is the problem-based learning, which a lot of research has shown that that's a great way to get the kids involved in the beginning, getting their brains activated, and, the real-world applications versus just getting into, going through algorithms and things like that. The visual learning, again, a lot of kids are visual learners. There's a lot of beautiful text pictures. A lot of the textbooks that were competing with Pearson would have just a kid just kind of like smiling, but they actually have pictures that like coincide with like the problems that the kids are looking at. A lot of, much more interesting for the kids. Along with the visual learning is the assessments and the ability to differentiate. Again, we were kind of, I hate to admit this, but kind of going with teaching to the test a little bit more because, again, the modules weren't really coinciding with it. So what we were doing is we would look at the release questions and then try to kind of teach around that. But with Pearson, again, we see that they have really good questions, and we don't have to really teach the test anymore after we get this program. Again, they have the assessments available for us, very similar types of questions, allows us to differentiate for them.
There's another piece that Pearson offers. There's a pioneer teacher, Dan Meyer, who is doing amazing things with mathematics in the classroom. And he developed this concept called 3-act math, which has 3 scenes, and it breaks down the first scene into like a hook or something that's very high interest for the students, and it is just a little piece of the problem. It usually comes in a video form of something happening, and it just leaves the students at what's going on, I wonder, what if, very risk-free way to implement a new subject area. And then Act 2 is the students are able to be hands-on with it. And again, they're very high-interest pieces. They're not, there's something that the kids would actually see apply the mathematics in the real world. So they would be hands-on with that and do the second act where they're actually modeling with that, and they get a little more of that information. And then the final act is that they problem solve through it together, usually in a group setting, and come up with a solution, and then we discuss that. So Pearson 3-act math is a very new, innovative way of approaching mathematics, and Pearson has already got Dan Meyer on board with them and include at least one 3-act math activity per unit. So that was very exciting to see that they're on the cusp of the new integrations of math in the math classroom.
So another really great part of it is they have this thing called Virtual Nerd, and it's videos that reteach the units. And now, right now, I've been using a lot of, Khan Academy, YouTube videos. This year, I decided not to really give traditional math homework, and I've been just suggesting that the kids watch videos. So I'll pick one of those videos out. And there was always a topic that a video I could use, but a lot of times the videos taught it differently or use different jargon for the kids, and so I'd have to kind of explain it just for the videos. But now this group has the videos, and it's going to be explaining it the same way. And I think it's really going to be exciting to be able to have that video that the kids and the families can watch at home. It's really great, too, for the kids who miss a class, especially for music lessons. I know for me, both of my kids ended up pulling out of the music lessons because they kept getting pulled out of class, and it was affecting their ability to keep up. And so now we can just say, oh, watch this video, and a lot of the online programs that go with it. So, they might not be with us, but they're still, keeping up with the program, which is really great.
I just wanted to add to that, too. There's 2 teachers currently in the high school, Amber Whitney and Melissa Edwards, who do flipped learning. I did flipped learning a couple years ago, and I'm interested with this program, definitely being able to do it again next year. So I think it opens the door a little bit so that when they go up to that high school level and they take those higher courses, that they have that experience already with flipped education.
So flipped learning is just a pedagogy that has students kind of via video or online learn the concept, and then they come back to class and they're practicing with guided support of their teacher. Now you'll see the direct instruction occurs in the classroom, and then if students are taking a homework home, there's no support for them as they're working through the problems, and a lot of our kids find out that that's exactly when they need the help. So that's the flipped learning concept that the math teachers have really been on the front edge of. Yep.
The next part is, as Mr. DeMass mentioned, there is a very nice technology presence with this program. So, and there's both digital and print versions of everything. So if a student doesn't have electronic access at home, they are it's still adaptable to them. But one of the pieces that they have is a program called Math XL, which the students do practice through it, and then it caters and it differentiates to how long they took to answer the question, how many they got right, and it can give feedback right to the teacher as to what exactly skills they need to work on. So it'd be something that in the AIS format, that would be very beneficial.
As you can see on the screen, there's, again, a number of different ways that we can, adjust according to the child's needs. This program's really going to allow us to do that in an easier fashion than in the past because, again, these online tests and problems, the program will actually correct some of it for us so we can get quicker feedback to the kids. And so these different programs that are shown here are the possible extra supports that we can give the child in class. And we're going to be lucky enough to have Chromebooks this year, hopefully. So we'll be able to get the kids on there, and they'll all be doing a more appropriate level of work for them. And again, the program, like Michelle had just mentioned, it'll catch where the kid is at that point and slowly move them forward versus like kind of blowing them out of the water with something that's not at the right level or boring them to tears because it's like I've done this for years. And so it's really exciting. Again, you can see the different practices. There's a nice literacy portion to it for our ESL students and any of the students that we have that have troubles with reading comprehension. It's great.
All right. In the middle school, the team of math teachers are very passionate about trying to get every student to be successful. And what I love about this program is the differentiation is beautiful. So my 3 personal goals for next year was flipped learning, which Mr. Syracuse just explained, individualized learning, and standards-based grading. And with this program, I feel that I will be able to meet all of those goals very well. So they have, if a student struggles with the video and they come in and they're not understanding it, they can do a reteaching activity with the teacher. There's vocabulary activities, as Mrs. Ferry mentioned, literacy piece to all lessons. There's an intervention lesson if students need it. There's enrichment activities if students already grasp it just from watching the video. If they come in already knowing it, I don't need to teach them anymore. I can get them on an enrichment program. There's math tools, online math tools. There's STEM activities, practice and problem solving. And as if you look through the book, the practice and problem solving are very high interest for the student age group and very problem-based learning. So.
Okay, again, you can see that they have plenty of opportunities for us to assess the students. Again, each of those can be customized, which is really great. The other programs we were looking at, a lot of them would require us to kind of like cross problems out if we didn't want them to. This one is really good because you can go in and say, I want this one or this one. And again, they also have this exam view program that I haven't really gotten a chance to look at too closely, but from what I have understood through the readings, that again, it's just another way to customize. There's a lot of customization on it, so we're really excited about it. No, you can talk about cost.
So one of the things we hope you get from this presentation is that this offers our teachers a ton of support and resource to help them reach and teach all kids at all levels. One of the reflections from the group once we went through the process was that Pearson felt like the program of the future, and there were a lot of other great programs, but they felt like they were of the past. So we feel like with our strategic plan, with our technology scope and sequence rolling out, with our one-to-one initiative, with our Smart Schools initiative, this is right in line with where we want to be as a district. The cost is outlined here. Basically, this is a 3-year cost. In this program, you can be 100% digital. You can be 100% print. We're going to do a blend. So for the first 3 years, we're going to have student workbooks that are consumable. Oh, I am so sorry. Yeah, I should have passed those out ahead of time. We're going to do a blend. The kids will have workbooks, but they'll also have online access. So the cost represents 3 years of consumable textbooks and 3 years of subscription to all the programs that you saw here listed today. The total for 3 years is $22,520.
Just to add there that we do have what's called textbook aid board that covers quite a bit of the cost that's included on this. I believe the aid is it at 70% for the textbook?
So we get a textbook allotment, which is based on our per pupil allocation, yes. And this is well within our textbook budget for next year.
Okay. So questions that the board might have around the program or thoughts that you might have? Carl?
Pearson is now the state test people, or no?
No.
Who, they were?
They were, yep.
Okay. Now, this textbook is by them?
It is.
Okay, even though they're not doing the test.
So they're still a publishing company. They are.
Okay.
They still produce good work. One of the great things about that I saw in this is the ability to get away from teaching to the text.
Right.
These teachers have done a great job of collecting and finding resources and materials for kids as they saw fit. But this is going to allow them, if you looked at what was open, I think Christine started talking about, the kids begin with problem-based learning, with real-world application. That doesn't wait. So you could see it's a real step away from teaching to the test and more towards giving kids, teaching to the kids and engaging the kids immediately. But just because they were the publisher, one arm of them certainly was the publisher of the test. And I'm going to tell you, when we first looked at this, I kind of bristled a little bit. I had heard enough about Pearson in my 5 years, but it's a fantastic product is really the bottom line.
Right. And just to keep in mind, so the state has been working on state standards, and so they reviewed all of our standards recently, and what they actually did a survey across the whole state to see what people thought about the standards and what standards should change from which ones should not. The majority of the standards, actually, they've kept. They've not gotten rid of them. There are some earlier learning standards that they're going to be shifting around and putting some things that are in third grade and second grade, some things in second grade and third grade. But the standards, the majority of them, are all staying. So students are still expected to understand the concepts that those standards have. So whether it's a Pearson person that publishes or whoever publishes, the standards are still there, basically. They did some things like make tests shorter, extend some time for kids so that they wouldn't have to rush up on the test, basically. But those standards are still there. So we understand that there were some concerns about the publisher from others. But again, we, like most districts, really took some time to really think and dive in and to see, what's happening now on some of those questions that the state are releasing to us, and we want to have those things aligned. And we found that this was the best product, regardless of the background history with Common Core. We found that this publisher really had the best resources, as they've mentioned, that would align with not only our students' needs, but the state standards, and also where we're trying to go in terms of our strategic plan. We want to make sure we have a really strong curriculum that's rigorous, and we want kids to have integrated opportunities where mathematics, science, social studies, ELA is all integrated with technology to leverage outcomes for kids. And this program, we believe, clearly would be able to do that. Okay.
Do we know of any other districts that have adopted this approach? And secondly, if they did they see an improvement in their scores?
What we asked our sales rep when they came in to present to us that very question, and it's brand new. The only groups that have used it, there was a few, I think Clarence in Buffalo, but last year was a pilot year. It was brand new, so this is just hot off the presses. It's brand new. Some of the stuff was just finalized last year. A lot of the online component stuff is just, so this is a very brand new product. But I do know that Clarence was one of the school districts they mentioned that had used it. So we're early on in the process, and we were really excited about pretty much every aspect of this program. So there's not a long case study of all these districts that have tried it before, and here's the results. But we're confident, based on examining the product, that that's what we're going to see.
Okay, it sounds like you did a pretty thorough review. And the other thing is, I have grandkids who just went through, well, they're going from 7th to 8th grade, and I've seen their math homework. And whatever assistance you can provide their parents or videos to help kids when they don't understand something, I think certainly would help improve their learning outcomes in the end.
Yeah, there's 2 apps you can get with it as well. One is called Bounce Pages apps, and it allows the kids to scan the textbook page and pull up useful resources. So they don't even have to search it anymore. They can just scan the page and the resources come right up on their phone. So it's exciting.
Okay, what grade is this? This is grade 1 of 2, and this is 2 of 2.
Grade 7.
Okay, I think I could do this book, but not this one.
All right, also, you worked with a team to do this. How much has been shared with your colleagues and talked about? What can you let me know what kind of happened with that, where everybody is as far as knowing what's going on?
Everybody knows. Everybody was a part of it. There was a half day when the beauty of it is the whole team is 5 math teachers, because we're departmentalizing in 6th grade. So the list of teachers I mentioned who engaged in the process, they're everyone. And they're all excited,
And you were two of the teachers who can attest to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were.
We're excited enough to be here on our
On your
summer
summer.
break.
Also, I like the parts of it where the kids can go on, and also the parents.
Yeah.
But I know as my kids were coming through, that anything that they could go on the computer at home to do and have competitions, because competitions was good. They want to compete against other people on what level they're at and their own siblings and that. And so it's been good. And to engage them in the technology that we're using today is good. And it'll be great to have the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work.
Steve has a
I got 2 questions. First one, it doesn't seem like it, but is there going to be any issues with the new scheduling changes coming up that you foresee being a problem with this as you're going forward?
No, one thing about the program that we didn't point out is a lot of times programs have 180 lessons, so you don't even have time to breathe. Even with math expressions, the previous program that we did, there's time and space in the curriculum for teachers to reteach, for teachers to test and go over testing with kids, for teachers to enrich. So there's about 120 lesson days, and then they would have the time to remediate and accelerate as they see fit. So the new schedule should not be a barrier for us.
Okay. The other question I got, I know you said there's printouts available for kids. My concern is I know several kids that are classmates of my children that have no internet access at home, whether it's no computer or a computer with no internet, whatever else. What can we do to help those kids along other than just, here's a pack of paper, good luck. I want to make sure everyone's getting the same opportunities to do the best they can.
One is the textbooks are write-in textbooks. So you saw that there was 2 7th-grade ones. One's for the first half of the year, one's for the second half, and the kids can actually write right in those. And just on a side note, the company said that any changes with the new standards or any changes, they just got a new copyright on it. So if they change one problem, next year the new consumables will include all of those changes. So that's a side note I wanted to mention. But so the textbook itself can be brought home. And then there's Chromebooks available in all of the classrooms for math next year for 7th and 8th grade. And then on top of that, a lot of our special education students have take-home Chromebooks. There's options of putting it on a flash drive for students. There's options for printable materials if the students would like it. The videos can be watched during school. So there's a lot of accommodations that can be met for those students, definitely.
Thank you.
Michelle, you mentioned something that so most schools today are moving towards one-to-one technology initiatives. And we had our technology director here at our last meeting who shared the scope and sequence. And what we'd like to do very shortly is kind of move us in that realm of one-to-one technology. So today in schools, children are doing things a little differently. Kids have Chromebooks like you all have in front of you now, and they're taking those Chromebooks actually home with them and bringing them back and doing homework right on them in that way. And what that's doing is leveraging outcomes for kids and leveraging the playing field for all kids. So we're shortly, soon, over time, not right away, our goal is to move into that direction so that we might be able to allow kids who don't have those opportunities to have those opportunities. I can tell you that as I think Michelle already mentioned, we have some kids who are already doing that right now. We have a number of our kids with disabilities who are already taking the technology home, and they're doing very well with it, and it gives them that extra opportunity. Many schools are doing this now, so soon our goal is to move in that direction, which we believe will be a very good direction for our kids, but one step at a time. But we're moving in that way, basically. And also there are times in libraries. We have libraries in our schools that are open before school, during school, after school, and the community is also. We would be partnering with our communities to make sure that the public libraries, if kids need to have access, there are places that kids can go to get those things as well. Okay? Michelle, I think you wanted to say something. Okay, that might be hands up. Carrie?
How are you going to find, with rolling from the K-5 math program into this one, will the ease of it be easier, or what are you finding, like, so far?
Sure. So yeah, one of the things we did, so as Mr. DeMass mentioned, when we started this, it was taking a look at extending math expressions up to 6th grade. So when we began this process, it was very important to us that the 5-6 alignment be there. So that's one of the things that we looked at in the program, and that's one of the things that we found with Pearson. So we feel like the alignment's there. You know, we took a look at Math in Focus, and really it's a great program too. It's Singapore-based, it's proven, but it was it seemed to leave a big gap between where we left them off in 5th grade and what we expected immediately in 6th grade. So there would have been a lot of adjustments. We felt like this program did align well. It prepares, what we're trying to prepare them for is algebra and algebraic thinking. It is a shift in the standards at that level, so there's a natural shift that occurs anyway at 6th grade. We do think that it's going to be a soft landing for the kids.
Joe, do we have any, if a child is really highly accelerated, and do we have any ways if let's say, an 8th grader breezes right through algebra, do we offer anything above that?
We have a handful of kids who will double accelerate in our programs in the middle school, so who will actually take geometry as 8th graders.
Okay.
Mrs. Mack will, in extreme cases, work with highly gifted kids. But one of the things that we're excited about with the program is the ability to differentiate digitally in a way that's manageable for teachers. The electronic platform offers kind of a testing window, so when you look at how your kids are doing, you saw all those assessments that Christine was talking about. They'll compile those in one place, and it'll make enrichment within the classroom, which is really what we expect. We want to enrich all kids every kid every day within the classroom, which means challenging them at their level. And in order to do that, we need tools, often digital tools, to help us do it. So we feel like this program will allow us to do that a little bit better. But again, we're brand new to it, so we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Okay. All right, board, so we'll be back asking for full adoption for the program. And if there are any other questions, please certainly let us know. Okay? Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Chris and Ms. Peck, for coming tonight. We appreciate you coming out. Thank you. And Mr. Damas, we appreciate you coming out as well. Please. Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you.
So can we possibly put this on that special meeting before
Yes, we
the thing
can.
when we look at the
We
bids
certainly
and
can.
add this for adoption?
Yes, we'll
next,
add this to the meeting on the 11th.
Next Tuesday? Okay,
Sure.
thank
Very
you.
good. Yeah, we can do that. Very good. Yes. Okay, so tonight on the consent agenda, looking for a couple of approvals for personnel actions. We have some people doing some work with us or for us over the summer, and we certainly have those on the personal action. There is also a gift from the merry-go-round. Each year we do programs with merry-go-round, and one of the nice things they do is after they get everything in, they give money back to schools to say thank you for using us. And so we do have a gift that's from the merry-go-round that we need approval for tonight. The regular Board of Education meeting minutes are there from our last meeting. And then there is an art bid, instructional technology art supply bid that would need to be approved. A bid for tires and tubes, and we did make sure that we changed the date on that. We had an inappropriate date there, unfortunately, but we got that fixed. And then the last is the Rochester City School Health Services contract. So this contract covers those children who are in the hospitals or in parochial schools who have to be covered through the health services piece by our district because they are in those settings, basically. So we would need approval for those. And those are the items that we would have tonight on the consent agenda. Any questions at all from anyone tonight on those items? Okay. With that said, thank you, and that's my report for tonight, Board.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kell. All right, this time we don't have any board business for action, but except for the consent agenda. So we'll move on to, I need a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda. Ron? Second, Carrie? Dr. Kelvin already provided the highlights for the agenda. Is there anybody who has any other discussion on it? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right, obviously there's no committee reports, but we'll be getting started. Hopefully we'll have the dates figured out for the meetings, the day and times ahead of time so they can be posted on the website so everybody knows that, and they are open to the public. Just no participation at those. And also the move on to board president comments. I have just a couple. Steve, welcome to the board. Also, we will talk about in our workshop retreat, talking about restructuring of our public comment session, so that'll be something to look forward to. So maybe look around different schools, see what they do, look in the what NYSBA recommends, and so we'll have some discussions on that to make our public comment productive. And also, I know we all hear from many people in many ways. And we hear people that come to the board meetings, we hear people when we go to the grocery store and wherever we go in public, at school events. So just make sure we're taking it all in and making our decisions in the best interest of the kids, which I think we all have that goal. So just want to make sure we continue that. I know sometimes you do get phone calls, but just keep listening and make our decisions what we think is best for kids. So, all right, at this time I need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss the performance of a particular employee
And the discipline record of a
and a
student.
discipline record of a student. Carla, second. Let me pick. Jeremy. And any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We're going down to